Hey friends, it's Steve Gordon, and last week I had the opportunity to speak to a closed door meeting of some of the world's top professional speakers, and I shared with them how to create a book that lands clients, that lands stages, that lands podcast opportunities, and write that book in 90 days without really having to work very hard to do it. And so I want to share that talk with you here, and included in there are some new thoughts and new ways to leverage your book using AI that I've not shared before. So stay tuned. It's going to be great.
For the next 45 minutes, we're going to be talking about books. And we're going to be talking about how to write, publish, and promote a book that will add 7 figures to your business, and do that in 90 days. And most people think writing a book is an exercise that should take 2 years or longer. I've heard in some cases people tell me, but we've engineered a system that will create an excellent book in 90 days. And then we work with our clients to get them ROI on that book in 90 days. So let's talk about how that works. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about a method of creating new business that's worked for over 100 years. And I think that's incredibly important in today's era of the next fad, the next trend. If you go on TikTok or Instagram, you're going to be lured into doing something new. And what we're going to be talking about today has worked for 100 years to grow your business. And I like that because it means I don't have to learn a lot of new stuff. So this is one of my favorite quotes from Gary Keller, the book, The One Thing. What's the one thing that you can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? And so my job here today is to get you walking out of here believing that writing a book is the one thing that will make the biggest difference in your business. Now, I'm going to show you some examples as we go through the day, and they're going to be from different industries. And what I'd love for you to do is just suspend your disbelief for a moment. It's really easy to say, well, that worked over there in that business, but my business is different. And I've always found that the best way to think outside the box is to go get in somebody else's box and see what's working in there. So can we agree that we're going to be open-minded? We're going to be aware that it's in a different industry, but I can probably make that work in mine? Awesome. So the things I'm going to share with you today, I've had the opportunity to share with thousands of other business owners, and they've now become authors. And I get these amazing messages from our authors when they publish. They'll send me a text message, oh my gosh, you won't believe what happened. You know, I suddenly got this new deal out of nowhere. I got this speaking engagement that I wasn't expecting. And I call that the author effect. And it's one of my favorite things, and it's one of the reasons I get up and work so hard to build our company, is because we get to make that kind of impact. So my name is Steve Gordon. I'm the author of 5 books, and I have my latest book, The $1 Million Book, here, which I'd love for you all to take home with you. I built 2 businesses, and I've helped over the last year over 131 authors, business owners, become best-selling authors. And I've been doing a lot lately in AI and marketing, and we'll talk about a little bit of that today. So when I started, I didn't have a book. I started this business. This was my second business. And I started like everyone does. And it's usually 2 steps forward, 3 steps back in the beginning. And you go through those years of struggle. I was a single dad at the time. I met my wife, Erin, and asked her to marry me. Thankfully, she said yes. And we're still doing it 14 years later. But I know at the time she was a little bit nervous because I had a brand new business. And the model wasn't proven yet. And I was looking around trying to figure out, how do I grow this business? How do I support this new family? And I had tried every marketing tactic you can imagine. I did direct mail. I spoke anywhere I could get 5 people together, and I'd be in front of them. I did online advertising. I posted on social media. I stalked people on LinkedIn. You name it, I did it. And the problem with all of that is that as you jump from tactic to tactic to tactic, it chews up time, and most people do that and they go surface level. They don't go deep enough to actually get results, and so it really starts to erode your confidence over time, and it certainly did mine. So I was giving a talk to a group in the UK, and at the end, the host pulled me aside, said, wow, that was the first new thinking I've heard on referrals. I was talking about referral marketing. It's the first new thinking I've heard about referrals in a long time. You should really write a book. And I was a little bit ashamed at the time. I didn't want to tell him that for the 2 years prior, I had had 2 attempts at writing a book. And both of them went in the trash around chapter 3. Because I started with lots of caffeine and lots of energy and lots of excitement about the ideas, and very quickly I lost my way. I didn't know where I was going with the book. The blinking cursor got me. And I remember sitting at this rickety old dining table we had in our too small for 6 people house where we just put our Brady Bunch combined family together and thinking, I got to grow this business. I got mouths to feed. And I know that every successful consultant that I can see out there has a book. All of them. I've got to figure out how to write this book. So I told my wife, next Saturday, I'm going in the office. I'm not coming back until I have the book mapped out. I did that by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I had it all outlined, and I was able to write that book in an hour a day over the next 35 days. And the system that I developed to do that is the basis for the system we use with all of our clients now. So I got my first book out there called Unstoppable Referrals. And now I had all of my very best ideas packaged up in a book. See, most of us take our best ideas, we put them in the most expensive possible package ourselves, and then we ship it all over the country to sell our ideas to people. But when you have a book, you get to flip the script. When you have a book, you put all of your best ideas in the book, and you send the book out with your best ideas to sell people on working with you. And so I now had that. So I started reaching out to people in my network, and I was just shocked at how excited people were. And one of the things you'll find, first of all, how many people have a book? How many people have written a book? So a lot of them. So you know, if you've got a book, you know that when you tell people you're going to write a book, they get really excited, and you may not know why that is, but surveys show that 84% of Americans have on their bucket list, write a book. And so the minute that you write a book, or the minute you say, I'm going to write a book, you're now an aspirational figure for 84% of the people in the country. And so you say, hey, I'm going to write a book, and now they're looking up at you going, wow, I wish I could do that one day. And so you create all of this excitement. And so I was able to get out of my network a really small number, 15 people who had audiences to help me share my book when I started. And you know, when I launched that book, thinking back to those days, those were fun days. I was a 1.5 person consulting firm, which means I barely had a part-time assistant. And, you know, and she was helping me launch the book. We launched the book with 15 partners, and those 15 partners helped us get the book in the hands of 5,268 people in a week. I had less than 1,000 people in my entire database at the time. So the impact on my business was enormous. Overnight, I went from a 1.5 person consulting firm based in Tallahassee, Florida. And if you don't know where Tallahassee is, I don't blame you. We don't have a beach and we don't have a mouse, so nobody comes to visit. But we are the 11th largest market in Florida, and that's noteworthy because we're really small, right? And so I had nothing but local clients. So within a week, I'm getting inquiries from all over the US, from the UK, from Australia, and from Canada. I went from a tiny little local firm to an international firm in a week, all because of my book. So we became a #1 business book on Amazon that week. It stayed there for a couple of weeks. We became an international bestseller, and I got to tell you, it was just absolutely mind-blowing what happened. My business doubled that year, it doubled the next year, it has done nothing but grow ever since. That's the power of a book. And as I said, I've shared these ideas with thousands of other entrepreneurs who've now become authors. And to see that kind of an impact happen in that many businesses is really astonishing. And this is one of them.
Hi, my name is Mike Koenigs. I'm the author of AI Accelerator. The subtitle is How to 10x Your Productivity, Clone Your Smartest Employees, and Monetize Your IP in the New Economy. Now, I'm going to tell you, first of all, the most powerful thing you can ever do to grow your brand is to write a book. And the situation that caused me to work with $1 Million author and Steve Gordon in the first place is I wanted to get my AI book done in time for Peter Diamandis' Abundance 360 conference. And sharing it with that audience was a huge opportunity for my business and my fractional AI company. Now, time was really tight. And when I met with Steve and his team, the conference was 23 days away. Now, if you'd ever go to somebody and say, hey, I need to write a book, a really good book in 23 days. In my case, this is my 19th book. And in the past, almost all of my books, other than my previous 3, were all done 100% by myself. I had no one supporting me. I was in a situation where there was no way I could get it done without getting support. And what happened with Steve is, number one, he said yes to an impossible deadline. Number 2, he was on it right from the start. He was extremely proactive. He anticipated the obstacles, and he knew how to deal with someone like me who is, let's not just say easy. I've got a complex voice. I speak to very high level clients and customers. And you can tell right away if something isn't written like me, just because I'm kind of bold, a little bit brash. And what was great about it is they made it happen. They made it easy. Steve and the $1 Million author team delivered the finished book to the printer in 13 days. Out of all 19 of the books I've written, 18 of them have produced $1 million in revenue in less than 100 days. This one produced over $1 million in revenue in less than 30 days. So again, I think what's really important is anytime you're writing a book, what's really valuable, what's really important is get it done fast, get it done right, and get it done in your voice.
I think Mike really sums it up. Get it done fast, get it done right, get it done in your voice, and then go make an impact with it. Make an impact both in the world and in your business. And one of the things that I think makes our approach, and the approach I'm going to share with you, a little bit different from a lot of the folks that are in our business, is we're really focused on getting business results for our clients. And you'll see that throughout what we talk about today. So I want to share with you the $1 Million Author Framework. There are 3 parts to it. And the first part, secret number 1, is transformation, not textbook. This is really about how to design a book that gets people lining up to do business with you. Secret number 2 is our proprietary launch method. We call it the inverted viral launch, and it is really contrary to what most people tell you to do in a book launch, and it's designed to generate cash immediately. And then the third is the AI Omnipresence advantage. Now that we're living in the age of AI, you really can leverage your book to be everywhere now. So let's talk about secret number 1, transformation, not textbook. So there are 4 parts to this. Number 1 is transformation, A to B. 2 is unique mechanism. 3 is bigger, better future. And 4 is best case, worst case. Now, I want to share with you how I discovered this idea of transformation, not textbook. About 7 or 8 years ago, I had a client come to me. He'd already written his book, written it on his own, and he had been working with 2 of the bigger name marketing experts in the country to get the book out there, and he was super frustrated because he wasn't getting any clients from his book. He was doing high-end sales consulting, and he had written this book that by all accounts was an amazing book. I read it, I'm like, this is breakthrough stuff in sales. And he had submitted it to an industry trade publication that did literary awards. It won the top literary award 2 years in a row from this publication. And yet he'd gotten 1 client from the book in 3 years of having the book out. And like I said, he was very frustrated. I remember meeting him and his wife in Atlanta. His wife was extremely frustrated that it wasn't producing more, and he wanted to know what the solution was. And so I started examining like his book versus the books of ours that I knew were producing clients, and I looked at other books in his genre, and it suddenly dawned on me. He'd written a textbook, and he was trying to get that textbook in front of high-level corporate decision makers at the VP level and the C-suite level, and they didn't want to read a textbook. They didn't want to learn how to do what he knew how to do. They wanted to know what transformation was possible. And so as you think about writing a book, if the goal of your book is to generate new business, please, it's okay. You don't need to prove to us how smart you are. We know you're smart. You need to write a transformation book. And so what that means is you need to map out the transformational journey. So we start at point A with the problem that is keeping your most valuable client up at night. Imagine they're laying there in bed, 2 a.m., they're doing math on the ceiling, trying to figure out how to solve a problem. That's where you want to start the book. I see most people that, a lot of people come to us with things written, and we get their superhero backstory and all this stuff, and we're about 3 chapters in before we get to actually anything good. So you want to start with that problem that's keeping people up at night. But the book needs to end with the bigger, better future that you're promising them. And so that's the transformation A to B. The second key thing that you want to put in your book as you're designing the content is your unique mechanism. I call this the yellow brick road, right? So if we have our starting point where the problem is, and we have our ending point of the story, this bigger, better future, we need to know how to get from point A to point B. And that's how you help people. So that's the 3 or 5 or 7 steps that you take people through to create the transformation. Now, you're not trying to teach them all the details of how to do it, but you want to give them enough so that they trust that you have a plan. Now, that brings us to the end of the book, the bigger, better future, or what I like to call the Oz experience. So those of you who are old enough to remember The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy lands in Oz. She's got a problem. She wants to go home. She doesn't know how to get home. Everybody says, follow the yellow brick road. That's the unique mechanism. So she follows the yellow brick road. And as she gets to the city of Oz, what happens in the movie? It goes from black and white to color. And before her is this gleaming, glistening, jeweled emerald city. You want to paint that kind of picture of the future for your clients and for your readers. But that's not enough. Because if you leave them there, they're going to go, oh, that's really nice. So you want to end the book on a crescendo. And we call that best case, worst case. So you want to remind them right at the end of the book, right in the conclusion, I just told you about the bigger, better future. Remember, that's the best case that could happen. This is what awaits you. But if you don't also tell them about the danger of the status quo, then you're probably not going to get them to take action. And if they don't take action after reading your book, everyone loses. You lose because you don't get any new business. They lose because they don't get a problem solved. Everybody loses. But if we give them that best case, worst case, we create emotional contrast, which generates action. And that's what we want. Now, I get asked all the time when I'm giving talks like this, but I'm a little bit afraid about my topic. I'm wondering if my topic is too boring. I had somebody ask me that yesterday. Do you think this would work? So I always like to give this example. This is one of my friends, John Curry. He's been a client of ours for about 15 years. He's a speaker, a financial advisor, a trainer. And he came to me 5 years ago and he said, Steve, I want to write a 3rd book and I want to write it on life insurance. And I said, John, this is a bad idea. But he said, no, I started in the business in life insurance. I train people in how to use life insurance as a tool. I want to write a book on life insurance. And I said, all right, it's your money. So we wrote a book on life insurance for him. And I didn't think it was going to work. But the week we launched that book, John sent it out to his list of 5,000 people that he has in our little town. He's my only local client in Tallahassee, so sent it out to 5,000 people in town. 52 of them raised a hand and said, I'd love to have a copy of a book on life insurance. I about fell out of my chair when he told me that. 52 people want to read a book on life insurance. So he sent those books out. He invited those 52 people to a webinar the next week on life insurance. And 37 of the 52 showed up to see his webinar on life insurance. And 11 of those people booked appointments and bought whole life insurance policies. And if you're not familiar with that, those were all 5-figure premiums. That was a good sales day for John. And so I don't care what business you're in, your topic is probably going to be more interesting than death. So you're going to be all right. John says that writing a book has been the best investment in his business. And his clients give him out like candy. And he's in a very hard to refer business. Most people don't like to talk about money with their friends. And so his clients give his books out, and that's how he gets referred. All right, let's talk about secret number 2, the inverted viral launch. So how many in here have heard of somebody named Oprah Winfrey? All right, one in the back. How about this guy that's been on the radio, Dave Ramsey? Anybody heard of Dave Ramsey? Okay, 2, all right. For the rest of you, I don't know what to say. All right, so this is our proprietary launch method, and it's a little contrarian compared to what most people will tell you to do with a book launch. And I'll explain why as we go. So again, 4 parts to this. Number 1, speed to money. Number 2, day 0 promo. Number 3, the Dream 100. And number 4, the bestseller status boost. And the reason I say this is a little bit contrarian is that the common wisdom on book launch is I need to get my book out to as many strangers as I possibly can. And if you're Oprah or Dave Ramsey or a former president, that's probably a pretty good plan because your business model is to make money on the books, right? But for the rest of us who don't have a TV show or a radio show and a million person plus following, the only way we're going to get there is to pay for it, and most of the people we work with can't write that kind of check. And so we've designed a launch system that cash flows. In other words, we start small and we start with the people who are most likely to pay you today, and we work our way out systematically. So let's talk about speed to money. All right, again, most people try and go to strangers that don't know them, and the problem with that is strangers make really bad buyers because they don't know you and they don't trust you yet. Now, your book will help, but so much easier to go to people who already know you, who already have some trust, and who you can turn into clients right away. Second piece of this is day 0 marketing. I see so many authors wait until the book launches to begin talking about it. And that's a really bad and expensive mistake. So when we work with a business owner who is going to become an author, we start on day 0, before we've even written the first word. In fact, we give them, and this is an example of the blueprint we give to all of our clients, week by week, very simple, easy to execute marketing actions that begin to give you traction on the book while it's being written. And the result of that is about 60% of our clients actually ROI their investment with us before they publish the book. Third piece of this is the Dream 100. So this is one of my favorite concepts in sales and marketing. I first learned it reading a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine by the late, great Chet Holmes. And he talks about putting together a list of your 100 most desired potential clients and systematically going after them. And it's just fabulous. I've used it for years in business. And we actually break this into 4 categories. We tell all of our clients to make 4 lists. You want to make a list of all of your current clients because your current clients are your biggest fans. And they're going to spread the word, and birds of a feather flock together. So that's an easy win. Make a list of all of your current clients. Second group are all the past clients that went away and you wish you had them back. Now, we all have those clients that went away and we're happy they went away. That's okay. We don't want to go after them again. But all the ones you wish you had back, who knows why they went away? Life happens and things change. But if you know that you can help them, a book is a great way to re-engage them in conversation. The third group are all of the people who have inquired about working with you. Maybe they've inquired about having you speak. Maybe they've inquired about your consulting, your coaching, whatever business you have behind your speaking, anytime in the last 2 years. And if they didn't close, there may be a reason that they didn't close, and it might not be you. Again, life sometimes gets in the way. And it's a fantastic way to re-engage in conversation. And the fourth group are your centers of influence. So we all have those people in our lives, in our business lives, that have, become fans, and they always talk a big game about referring you, but they never seem to follow through. Anybody like that? I see heads nodding. So you want to go to those people because your book now is the easiest way for them to refer you. It's 0 risk, because when was the last time you got upset when somebody gave you a book? Never, right? It's seen as a gift, so you can allow them to give the gift of you to everyone that they know. Now, they'll want to do that because now they're associated with an author, and probably a best-selling author, right? So it elevates their social status. It also gives them the opportunity to do something with their network that most everyone is terrible at, which is add value, right? And you're going to make it easy for them. And so when we combine all of these four things and re-engage your clients, your past clients, the people who've been in your pipeline, what we find is that you get very quick cash. The last piece of this is bestseller status boost. So again, one of the reasons you're going to write a book is to get credibility. And if you're going to do that, it's very easy to become a bestseller. Now, I talked with two people yesterday who really had aspirations of being a New York Times bestseller. That's great if you've got a book that's got a big market, but I'll be real candid with you. I just was in New York a week ago today with one of our clients, and we were meeting with publishers and looking to do a New York Times push. The amount of money that is required, you really better have a good business strategy behind that, because it's probably a $250,000 investment. And for most people, you do not need that. And there are other bestseller lists. USA Today is one. That's about an $80,000 investment to get to that level. But for the vast majority of people who want to write a book in support of their business, focus on being an Amazon bestseller. Now, I've seen consultants charge $10,000 or $15,000. If you want to hang around at the end, I can tell you how to do it in about 5 minutes, and I won't charge you a thing. But you want to get bestseller status. This is one of our clients, John Philippe. John is our current record holder for ROI on his book. We launched his book on a Friday morning at 8 a.m. He followed the inverted viral launch perfectly. He had his emails ready to go. He emailed out his network that the book was live. He sold about 100 copies by 11 a.m. A buddy of his who got a copy said, "Oh, I know somebody's starting a business. They need you." Referred the book to that person. That person immediately contacted John. They had lunch that day. This is 4 hours later. By 1:30 or 1:45, I think the email says, John walked out with a $38,000 contract. Now, there are a lot of people that will talk to you about how to make you famous with a book, but I'd rather make you rich. So John got that $38,000 deal in 5 hours. Like I said, he's our current record holder. We're looking for competitors that want to beat him. He made $115,000 in the first 30 days. Would anyone like to have $115,000 in the next 30 days? Yeah, of course. All right. We're now living in the age of AI. And I get a lot of people that come to me and ask, well, can I just write my book with ChatGPT? Have you read anything that ChatGPT's written lately? It's not good. It's really seriously not good. I have a 19-year-old who's about to be a freshman in college, and it writes like my 19-year-old who's about to be a freshman in college. He's not an English major. So there are some ways to take advantage of AI, though. And I believe, and what we have seen with our clients over the last 18 months, is that when you have a book that has all of your best thinking clearly articulated and organized in a format that AI can understand, you're actually very well positioned now to leverage AI. You know, instead of trying to let AI write the book, instead write the book yourself. Now leverage AI to do everything else. And so there's 4 parts to our AI omnipresence strategy. The first and the most important is the new rule of marketing. Second is what we call be everywhere now. Third is the consistency trust equation, very, very important. And the last is the AI authority multiplier. So new rule of marketing, it's not actually that new. It's been around for about 14 years now. It's called 7-11-4. You may have heard of it. It comes from a Google study called Zero Moment of Truth. So Google studied the buying behavior, and they've got all of the data from their ad network. They studied buying behavior across all industries, and what they found is that buyers on average consume 7 hours of content. 7 hours of content across 11 interactions in 4 locations. All right, so 7 hours of content. If you have a book, that's probably 2-3 hours right there. Okay, 11 interactions means they've seen you on LinkedIn, they saw your book, maybe they saw you speak somewhere, then they saw you on Instagram, right? 11 interactions, and then 4 locations. And again, that might be you speaking, that might be your book, it might be your YouTube channel, wherever it is. And so we're in an age where to build trust, once someone comes into your world, You want to appear everywhere to them. Not everywhere to everyone. That's a trap. You want to appear everywhere to the people that you want to be a hero to. All right, so the question then is, how do we be everywhere now? And it's a really hard thing to do. Anybody in here creating a lot of content right now? A few? Yeah, it's a lot of work, isn't it? How many hours do you spend on content in a week or a month? 50? And is that in a week or is that in a month?
No, in a week.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of time. So when you put all your ideas in one place, you've now got the advantage of loading your book into a tool like ChatGPT and having it now be much smarter. It can now understand and write in your voice, and it knows all of your ideas. It knows your point of view. And so you can leverage it to cut that time. And I know now for me, when I create content, I can create a month's worth of content for our social channels in about 3 hours. All right, so the other key thing now in showing up for all of the people who you want to be a hero to is you got to be consistent. So I like to tell our clients that you want to think like a magazine editor. And I know a couple of things about running a magazine. Many of you know Roxanne Emmerich. I ran her marketing for 10 years. And Roxanne puts out a quarterly magazine to all of her clients and potential clients, everyone in her market. And when you run a magazine like that, you have deadlines. Deadlines for getting all the articles in and written, deadlines for the ads, deadlines for the cover art. All of that is scheduled out. And if you're a professional about it, you never miss a deadline because you know the thing has to go to print and you know you have subscribers who are waiting for it. And my challenge to you is begin thinking about your content online as if you're a magazine producer. Have a schedule, be consistent, because consistency breeds trust. And if you're inconsistent with your content, that also tells people a lot about how you might do business with them. And it's more important than ever. People are watching, and you've got to be there and you've got to have that content now, because once people find a book or see you speak somewhere, the next thing that they're going to do is go look for you online. All right, now, last piece is the AI Authority multiplier. So once you've written your book, really easy to find all your best ideas. They're right there in the table of contents. Sometimes I forget some of my really good ideas. Like I wrote this book 18 months ago, I'll forget. Man, I had a good line in there. What was it? Good thing I keep it on my desk, right? Well, now, again, you can feed it into AI and turn it into lots of content. And so this is something that we've created, free for all of you to use. Feel free to scan the QR code. And we call it the Endless Idea Generator. And if you've got a book, you can simply upload a PDF of your book into it, and it will generate idea after idea after idea. And the way that it does that is it scans your book, it understands the concepts, and it gives them to you from all kinds of different angles. Because as you know, you can talk about the same topic 10 different ways. And this is the number one blocker for people when they say, oh, I can't do content online. Because they don't have any ideas organized, and then they don't know how to get it from all the different angles. So another one of our clients, Chris.
It's Chris Ternilson. My business, I own a supplement company called Solutions RX. I established myself as a keynote speaker and an author of the book Superculture, thanks to $1 Million Author. Before I had the book, I actually had a couple of jobs as a keynote speaker the year before I wrote the book that he hired me, sent a talent contract to me to sign, and it had 200 copies of my book. And when I had to send back that I didn't have a book, I lost the jobs. And it was eye-opening that I needed a book, but now, like I say, I not only don't have people turning me away for jobs, I've been able to raise my fees. Not one person said anything about my fees, and before, I doubled my fees actually, and before, everybody that I spoke at was like, shooting a lower price. Hey, could you do it for this? Could you do it for that? And now it's literally, hey, could you fit me into your calendar? The number one reason is because somebody needs you to write a book. The number two reason is to promote your career. Man, it's been something different when you go in to compete for a job and one of you has a book and one of you doesn't have a book. Coca-Cola has franchises, and those franchises get together and have meetings, leadership conferences, and one of their CEOs read my book, and Coke hired me to do their leadership conference, and so I'm pretty excited to have Coca-Cola on my resume.
Chris is pretty powerful. So Chris is, he's in the pharmacy industry and built successful pharmacies and then left to create a speaking and consulting business. And he's really just a few years into his speaking business, but he was really smart that he launched his speaking business with a book. And you can hear the difference in the matter of 6 months, the response that he got before he had his book to after he had his book. He was able to double his fees. I mean, the fact that people were sending him contracts and then he got fired because he didn't have a book still blows me away. But that was a real experience, happened twice to him. And now he's been able to raise his fees. He's getting on bigger stages. As you can hear, he got hired by Coca-Cola. So this is the free gift portion of the afternoon here. So I have copies of my book for you. Some of you may have been by the booth. If you've got one, great. If you'd like a copy, come up afterwards. I want to make sure that you get a copy of the book. Only so much we can cover in 45 minutes over lunch. And our whole system for how we determine what we want to put into a book and how to structure it, and then how to market the book effectively is in my book. I also want to give you, if you haven't written your book or if you're thinking about another one, this is a tool we've just developed. I said AI is no good at writing books, but it's actually pretty good at helping you organize your ideas before you write the book. And so we've just launched this tool. It's called the $1 Million Outline Builder, and it will help you create a marketable book outline in about 10 minutes. It's going to ask you 10 questions, and in 10 minutes it will send you a Google Doc with your book outline following all the best practices that I talk about in my book. This is the exact book structure that all of our clients are using to land six-figure clients. All right, so we've been over a lot. You might be feeling like you're drinking from a fire hose. I get it. We tried to pack a lot in today. I want to ask you a question. If you did what we talked about in that first secret, and you knew how to structure your book and put all the right content in there, and wrote that transformation book, not the textbook. And then if you did what we talked about in secret number 2, and you launched your book to create cash flow right away, and then you multiplied your impact online with secret number 3, with the AI Omnipresence advantage, do you think you could be successful in getting your next book out? Nice. Of course you could. Of course you could. Well, I want to give you an opportunity for those who are thinking about writing a book, whether it's your first or your next. I've got a team of book strategists that I've personally trained. They're really good at helping you think through your book idea and kind of talking through how it connects to your business model, whether that's a speaking model or speaking plus coaching, consulting, or some other business. And they've got some time set aside over the next week to talk with folks.
Hey, congratulations. If you've made it to this point of the live video, thanks for watching the recording of my talk. And if you're at a point where you do want to take that next step and explore what it would be like to write a book, as I said in the video, that we do have some slots open to speak to a book strategist to talk to you about your book idea and let you explore how it could connect to your business. So if you'd like to do that, I'm going to put a QR code here on the screen and a URL. You can go to that URL and you can schedule a time with one of our book strategists, completely complimentary, and you can discover a little bit about how our process works and whether or not it might be a fit to help you get your book done. Thanks.